Guess the question is this, and this is important because it means a lot in terms of what else the administration is going to be doing. Did the Commerce Secretary was the Commerce Secretary honest in what he was saying after what happened with Trump and the fact that he decided reverse course and give more time for the tariffs? This is important because I guess the question is, did he blink? Did Trump blink? Why? Or was it simply that, no, 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 there's no problem here. This was part of the plan. If he didn't blink and this was not part of the plan, then they are reversing everything, and therefore not everything is set, and therefore they're losing control of the narratives. And can they be trusted? There's I'll do another video on, was this a timed announcement? In the morning he had said, for example, hey, it's time to buy stocks, and then he announced it, and then the stocks go up. I don't believe so, because it didn't have to go up necessarily. But let's take a look at what this guy is saying. Let's take a look at what he's saying and how he said it, to make sure we understand and we're comfortable what's going on here. Because the market is getting a bit nervous, and even though you're postponing everything, the market, it might be saying it's not enough. You guys don't have this thing under control. So let's take a look.
What a great day for America, isn't it?
It is a great day. If you take a look, though, at the pre-Liberation Day close on the S&P 500, we're still lower from where we were then.
Well, first of all, okay, that feels a bit strong, if you ask me. That feels a bit weird. A great day in America, because what he's saying is he's basically referring to the fact that the market is up a lot on that day, the biggest increase in several years. So he's saying, isn't that great? Look what we did for you. Is that fantastic? Isn't that fantastic? I don't know. Yeah, the market is up. It's down from the time you said it. And you could see his demeanor, right? He's not moving. He's straight. There's something off. The question in everyone's mind is, did your boss blink?
And we did suffer, not only declines in the equity markets, but also, some crazy moves in the fixed income markets. Did the market reaction?
Okay, hold on. When she says crazy moves, she's basically referring to the fact that the Treasury bill, the 10 years, this is important. If you may not understand everything, but listen to me, the 10 years actually went up to 4.8%. Who cares, right? The Treasury bills, you're not going to buy the bill, right? You need $100,000 for each bill that you need to buy. No, it's important for you to know that at 4.8, it's getting so high. It means that people are dumping treasuries or not buying treasuries. They're not buying the US, and that's pushing the yield up. And obviously, if the yield goes up, that means that next, when it's time to refinance the debt, you're going to pay that much more money. This is what happened to Greece. Nobody wanted their bill. That's what's happening to France right now in Europe. They have to pay more and more and more and more for investors to buy your treasury. What do you care? Well, because if they can't buy the treasury and it becomes too expensive, how are you going to refinance your debt? Then you're going to default. And that's what they were concerned, that there was a credit event in the making. And that's what she's referring to by crazy. Let's see if he picks up on it.
Cause the administration to rethink its tariff plan?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The tariff plan for the president, look, he's trying to fix the fundamental imbalances that have been going on for this country for 35 years. I mean, we were just in the Oval Office and he said, I don't blame China. I blame the people who sat.
You didn't answer the question. You're just talking points all over again.
Behind the desk in the Oval Office for letting this occur. It is time to take back.
So it's not China's fault, it's Biden's fault. Everything is Biden's fault. I'm not saying he's wrong or he's right, but that is not But she wants. This is not an opportunity to come up with your talking point. This is an opportunity to explain to the people why you did what you did. And he's saying we didn't do anything. Okay, let's see why.
The ability to trade with America, and Donald Trump is leading the charge to do that.
We understand that. That's
She's saying, yeah, okay, fine, which is exactly what I told you. This is talking points, but you didn't answer my question.
certainly has been the administration's thesis this whole time, Howard. But at the same time, we had Wall Street, your former compatriots, come out raising the odds for recession, lowering price targets across the board. There wasn't any element of that feedback that entered the thinking, because some would posit that if Mr. Trump and the administration actually listened to Wall Street and took a look at the reaction of the financial markets, the global markets for that matter, they would find solace in what the administration is doing.
Look, President Trump made it clear that he's got to reset trade. He's got allies and foes. But
Now, you're going to see something in his speech. He's going to refer to Trump a lot. So basically, in a way, saying, listen, don't mind me. I'm just doing what he wants me to do. It's all on him.
both friends and foes. So what happened is we have so many countries who want to do deals with us. It's just not possible to talk to all, over 75 countries coming in who want to redo trade, who are taking a good hard look at their trading.
So the reason why we decided to postpone it by 90 days is because it is so successful that we won't have the time to do it. So we're going to do for 90 days. It's like if you go for a job interview and they ask you, hey, what's the worst thing about you? What's your worst quality? I work too hard. That's the kind of an answer that they gave. It's good. I have to say it's good. But it felt forced, right? And basically, he's putting himself in a situation where
Their rules, their non-tariff trade barriers, their tariffs, their subsidies, their currency manipulation, they're finally willing to say, we'll make a better deal with the United States of America. Can we
make a better deal with America? So I'm going to give you 90 days. But frankly, it took more than a year to do NAFTA. And you're going to do 70 deals in 90 days, right? I mean, it's impossible. I said it in a previous video. What they're looking for is not going to happen. And they know that. Okay. So now sitting there telling us that the reason I'm postponing everything is because it has been so successful, we're not going to be able to talk to these people. Didn't you know that ahead of time? You were surprised that they were all going to come to you? Even if you believe them, that means that you have to believe that they did not prepare for such successful event. So what were you preparing for? No event at all, I guess, which is ties to my previous video, that they don't really want to negotiate. They want to collect the money. There's something else going on here.
we just have the time to do it? And the president listened to them. And of course, China took the exact opposite path. And you see what's happening. So if China's going to take that opposite path, the president's going the other direction. But for all those countries who wanted to work it out with the United States and make sure they create a fair trading model for the United States, President Trump was ready and willing to sit down with them and make a deal with them. And that's the position we're in now.
According to reports, you met with the various bank CEOs over the past couple of days, and they all expressed their reservations about how the policy was playing out and the impact on the markets. I'm curious, because you've worn that hat as well not too long ago, Howard, and would you think that a 90-day pause would cause businesses to then resume spending, resume deals, resume their activity as they had planned to do at the beginning of the year? I mean, is that enough to sort of spur them to get back on track?
I think it is clear. People want to come.
He did not answer that question. And she wants to know, this is important. She wants to know, well, did you believe that in 90 days it would get everybody comfortable? Because as she knows, it takes a year to do these deals, and you got 70 of them. So what is this 90-day reprieve for? What are you doing? Because what's happening is, well, if you're a normal person, you look at this is what's going on with the US. Actually, it might be worse for you to go back on your word because I thought you were serious. We were not negotiating, and now so we are negotiating after all. Why are you negotiating? Because you're almost lost. Forget the stock market, right? And we lost 50% in 2008. That's not the problem. What you almost lost, you almost had a credit event with such a high yield, high yield treasury, which means the risk of the US is going up. That is the problem. And the risk of what? The risk of default. If you have a risk of default in the US Treasury, now you lose. This is 2008 all over again. And by you doing what you did, you shook this foundation. And now it doesn't look like you know what you're doing, even though you're saying, no, 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 this was part of the plan all along.
And build factories and reshore their production in America. That's why the president talks about the huge commitment of building in America. So the companies are.
So again, these are talking points. We're going to bring back manufacturing in the US, right? So yeah, a 5-year-old can understand that. They can understand it makes sense to bring back. How are you going to bring this back so quickly? How are you going to make such deals so quickly? What are you really up to? And hopefully you're up to something. Because if you're just up to talk the talk and have talking points and you don't have a goal, then you're going to lose the confidence of the market.
Are going to come back to America. The fact is, these countries understand that it was time to rethink the way they trade with America,
but I'm talking about
the way
US
they trade with China.
US
Oh, they're
businesses
going to
just
So she's cutting him off, obviously, because she's saying, "Listen, you keep telling me this. This is not an opportunity for you to bring up your talking point, which is we have tariffs to force them to come back to the U.S. so they could build in the U.S." She's saying that is not what you're here for. You're here to answer the question, which is, why did you change your mind?
doing business here, in terms of, for instance, Walmart pulling its guidance. I mean, what will give companies enough confidence to actually give guidance, to be
That's the second time she asked that question.
secure in how they're planning for their businesses for the year, headcounts, capex?
And look how he's overplaying it, meaning, I'm cool. I'm fine. I'm nothing to hide. Look at me. I'm not shaking. I'm not moving. I am stiff. In fact, maybe a little bit too stiff.
Etc.
I think it's important for companies to understand that the countries that they do their business in matter. If you do business in China or you do business with a country that basically is just a proxy for China, that you're going to have to deal with the fact that President Trump does not think we're being treated correctly. But if you're doing business in other countries, really understand the country you're doing business in, understand their relationship, and push them to make sure their relationship with the United States of America is fair and correct. And that will be good for business. So what you're going to see is the greatest set of announcements of companies going to build in America. And of course, they're going to build in America. That's what's happening. And you're going to feel it all across this great nation. People are going to build in America, and the job creation in America is going to be fantastic.
Wow. I mean, she's letting him go on, and it feels like a commercial. They're all going to come over. Look, the stock market is doing fantastic. Of course, we're not showing the treasury yield. Everything is going to be great. Everybody's going to come back to the US and build stuff, and we're going to be it's going to be a great day in America.
You just have to let Donald Trump drive the car, drive the ship, drive the plane, however you want to call it.
So now he's not even responsible for anything. It's all about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is in charge. He understands how to do this, and no one could do it better. And that's just what the market told you today. I understood they doubted it. I understood they were uncertain, but that's what you get. Never bet against Donald.
No. The market came back not because they believe what Donald Trump is doing, the market came back because we're on the cusp of losing the treasury yield and also on the cusp of losing confidence with everyone else. Therefore, the market went back up, not past where it was before, but a sign of relief that, okay, he's off and he's probably not going to follow through with it.
Donald Trump.
Mr. Lutnick, Mr. Secretary, does the administration feel that every trade deficit by definition means we're getting ripped off or losing? I mean, I would submit that we could be getting ripped off sometimes, but a trade deficit in and of itself doesn't mean we're losing. By the way, you know this, we're 5% of the global population. We're 30% of global GDP. So it's really hard to say we're getting totally ripped off.
Well, you have to look at things like Europe, right? Their population is bigger than ours, right? Their GDP is a little smaller. Why would they have a $235 billion trading surplus with us? Why would we have a deficit with Europe? It's not their cost of production. It's not the rate.
I mean, basically what they're saying is that we're not selling to them as much as they're selling to us. Okay. Now, I guess his point is going to be, well, the reason why we can't sell to you is because you have high tariffs, which keeps us away. You have high regulations, which keeps us away. I mean, we could also mention that maybe they don't want our products. Maybe the cars that we have, where everything is not up to snuff to what they're used to. But even assuming we have the greatest car, he's saying, well, you're not allowing us to sell in Europe, and therefore you're not being fair. And you're not being fair. In fact, if you think about it, I mean, it's one thing if you say you have Europe and China, but if have you seen the list of names? The list of names on which we are increasing the amount of tariff is almost 100 names. So we are being unfair to us. 100 companies in the world are being unfair. That's a lot. Right now, we're paying, even after the fact that they've postponed everything, we are 2%, and now we're on average of 2% tariffs. Now we are close to more than 10% tariff on average. I mean, it's a much higher average, if you consider what's going on with China and everything else. I mean, China is 145, some ridiculous amount. But the point is that it is much higher. So what is really going on here?
Regulatory framework, they're the same, if not worse, than we are in every way. It's because they're not having fair trade with us, and that needs to be addressed. So what happens is everywhere the leadership of the United States blinked before, some country came and used it as a launch pad to do business in America. I mean, why is Europe doing so much business with China? Basically a tariff arbitrage. Sell to Europe and have European companies then sell to us. So the idea is, let's end that. Let's call it.
I think the thing that probably is happening is we're spending too much money with goods from overseas, from goods from China. And where are we getting the money? We're getting the money from all the money that we're borrowing. We need to stop spending the money. That's probably what they want to do. And they would rather they spend more dollars and come here, obviously, to build factories and everything else. But I think it's time for austerity. So if you can't buy the car from, let's say from Europe, the Mercedes anymore, because now the Land Rover went up a lot. In fact, they're not shipping it because it's too much money. Or you can't buy it. What if you can't buy it? Then you can't borrow money to buy it. Then just buy a Ford. Then stop spending so much money. Maybe that's what they're trying to do deep down, because you're not going to get a deal with so many people.
For what it is, which is Chinese companies, they do business through China, they do business through Vietnam, they do business through Thailand. Come on, they do business through Malaysia. We've got to really address it the way it is and say we want fair trade. We want to be treated the way we deserve to be treated. And that's what's happening now. So we have 10% tariff around the world today. And we are calling out China because they are going in a different direction. We're going to work with each of these countries, and we're going to come up with a great deal for America, and hopefully a deal that they think is appropriate. And off we're going to go for the golden age of America. It's coming now. You feel it now. Finally, someone is behind the desk in the Oval Office who's going to protect America and the world. And it's coming now. And I tell you what, it feels great.
Mr. Secretary, I guess the question on how we are focusing on country by country, and you talk about bringing jobs back to America. There's some sense, and please clarify this for me, are we trying to reindustrialize America? And are we also looking to have a trade balance? Well, I mean, it seems to me we industrialized America 150 years ago, and that jobs went overseas because it was more efficient to do that.
So we're going to start making T-shirts and sweatshirts and shoes and sneakers and cars and everything in the United States. Okay, great. When? How long is it going to take? Can we do it? Is that what you really want? Because there's a reason why they went overseas, right? They went overseas because it was cheaper to make them. Yes, of course, a lot of people lost their jobs, and that's the problem. But so if you're going to bring them back here, I mean, unless you're going to bring the minimum wage to $5, it's going to cost more money. Therefore, you're going to have inflation, which is great. You could have inflation, and as long as you have inflation and you have growth, then they go hands in hands. But what if you don't have the growth, which is happening right now because a lot of the companies are being negative. The soft data shows a slowdown in economic activity. So you're definitely gonna have the inflation, but then you're gonna have also a slowdown in economic activity, which equals to stagflation.
We're also at record unemployment. So I'm just trying to understand how all this makes sense together.
So we can't.
And he brings up to the fact that, hey, by the way, it's not like everybody's got jobs. So how many more jobs are you going to create?
Can't be a nation that invents everything but has everything built somewhere else. Eventually, you become subservient to the people who build things for you. If you make nothing, but all you do is think about it, then someone else will be the builder. And if you also allow these giant trade deficits,
which is exactly what's happening with China, and I would agree with that. All the pharmaceutical companies, all the medicine, a lot of the stuff is made in China because they spent years developing the infrastructure for that, and frankly, they don't pay their people that much. So yeah, okay, yeah, it is a fact. That is a problem. If there's another pandemic, then you're gonna have to go over there and say, please, can I have some whatever? And by the way, keep buying my debt.
And you let yourself have budget deficits. What ends up happening is the rest of the world also owns you. In 1980, we owned more of the rest of the world than they owned of us. And now the rest of the world owns 18 trillion net more of the United States than we own of them. So 60% of our GDP is now owned by outsiders. It's time for that to be right-sized and fixed. We're going to reshore great industrialization, bring back those jobs here, and we're going to strengthen America so that America.
This is a third time he's saying you obviously this is not a discussion. Well, because you keep telling this thing over and over and over, and they are not getting their question answered.
Plays the right role in the world and is not just the biggest consumer who overspends and eventually is owned by the rest of the world. That is just not going to happen. My grandchildren had a great day today because my grandchildren had a great day when Donald Trump.
Wow, really, the grandchildren? I don't know. They get somebody else to answer these type of questions because they're just too formulaic.
Trump was elected president. That's what's changing. It's America for the long term of America. Someone had to do it. And you're feeling that's what's happening now.
How are you feeling it? Because the stock market went up. It almost crashed. Are you feeling it because the yield almost crashed by something that you created? They need a better messenger. I could see what they're trying to do, and I could see how it could work, but I could see that it's not working right now.
When you talk about reindustrialization, Mr. Secretary, what do you want to be made here? I mean, how do you envision that manufacturing economy, of the future? Are we talking about bringing back textiles, T-shirts, home goods, appliances?
Basically, all the stuff that China is making.
What?
Everybody always talks about these silly things.
Some would argue.
You see what I mean? Everybody thought, I don't want to talk about these silly things. So hopefully you address them.
That those are lower value goods, and you want those goods to be manufactured abroad so that the United States can manufacture higher value goods.
And who's going to work those jobs?
So let's just go through this. So you have TSMC, right? So
Let's go through this, meaning her point, but he's not going to go through her point. He's going to go through his points.
semiconductors. If you think about what is a semiconductor, every button you push means it has a chip. It may not have the newest chip that's in an iPhone, but it has an old chip. Your microwave oven, your refrigerator, your alarm clock, everything's got a chip in it. And that chip is all made in Asia, right? Taiwan makes virtually everything. Taiwan is 81 miles from China, and China has said we're going to take it over. Imagine if China went and took over Taiwan, and every single thing that we want to produce that has a plug, that has a button, is now owned by China, and we have nothing. It is outrageous that we've allowed
that. That's a national security argument. There's no national security argument for bringing back.
All right. Well, how about pharmaceuticals? You got a problem with pharmaceuticals? You don't have a problem with pharmaceuticals. How about steel and aluminum? You have a problem with steel and aluminum, right? You need all these things. And what's happening is you need to address it in bulk. You need to address the fact that we can't sell a car in Japan or Korea or Europe. You know, it's just so blatantly unfair. At some point, our economy, our farmers need to be able to sell corn, our beef, our ranchers.
You see, the argument is actually a very easy one to understand by a 5-year-old. We want to make the stuff here. Bring everything back here because it's safer for us to have them made here. Yeah, okay. But then who is going to make it? We are going to make it. Okay, well, then if we are going to make it, we are going to need to be paid more money than it's paid over there. Or you want them to come over here and make it here. And what if they decide to do that, and in 6 months you change your mind and you decide to remove all the tariffs? There are no guarantees in any of this. These are very easy talking points and selling points, but are they very reasonable over the long term?
Need to be able to sell beef. We've got to have the world stop taking advantage of us to the tune of $1.2 trillion and have our economy unleashed and be unshackled, finally unshackled. Our farmers have no idea what it's like to actually have a full world to sell to. Our ranchers, our seafood, and our fishermen.
Now you will notice that his energy now is coming through because now he's selling something. He's selling the idea what his boss told him to do, and under no circumstances you must give them an inch.
I have no idea. These will be fundamental changes. That's why Donald Trump says, make America great again. That's why he says, bring back the golden age. It's really allowing the United States of America to...
He's literally giving you the talking point. Golden age, make America great again.
Sell its goods to the world. We're only selling them to ourselves, really. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. That means everybody else sells to us, and we're not allowed to sell to them. Doesn't that seem unfair to you? If you're in business, doesn't that seem unfair when he unleashes America on the rest of the world and get...
Well, that's because it's cheaper for us to buy it from them than us making it ourselves.
That's fair trade with the rest of the world. America's GDP will grow. Our jobs will explode. Better jobs, higher paying jobs. That's the point. We shouldn't be growing our GDP 2%. We should be growing our GDP 4 and 5 and 6%. And no one's ever thought about it. And no one's ever...
I mean, the numbers he's throwing out, 6% GDP, like China, is that really achievable? You're changing the makeup of the USA. You are changing something very fundamental. And then, of course, you're changing them, but then you're going back on your words. And no wonder the market is saying, what are you doing? Because we are smart people here. We're not just talking point people. Is it right or is it wrong? I don't know. All I know is the yield, which is a measure of the riskiness of a country, just went up. And when you owe $37 trillion, you don't want to owe $37 trillion on 4.8%, 5%, 6%. You will get into a big credit event scenario where you cannot pay your bills.
Ever tried. And that's what we're doing here. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. And we are all of us who work for Donald Trump, we are his spokesman, but he is.
Imagine. I thought you were the Commerce Secretary. You're basically a spokesman for the president. You have no mind of your own, basically.
The driver. And don't get confused. Donald Trump is the driver of the policy. He authorized just the other day to negotiate.
So basically, their attitude is, listen, don't blame me. I'm just telling him what he wants me to say. And I keep telling you over and over and over. It's him, not I.
He authorized yesterday, and he came out with this policy today. And there was not the policy before.
This is heavy stuff, people, right? I mean, we have to make sure we understand what's going on with this administration, because well, we'll see what's happening to the market. But the market was down yesterday, and how is the market down today? I know. Let's see where the market is. The market is up today. Okay, the market is up 1.69%. So Dow gains more than 600 points as volatility week near ends. Fed comments through the market, the Wall Street rise after Fed comments. What did they say? Basically, White House index, all three majors, as were higher after assurances from Federal Reserve Susan Collins that the Fed is prepared to keep financial market functioning should the need arise. And that's different. They're not up because of what Trump said yesterday. They're up because of the fact that the Fed said, okay, we're here. We're going to backstop everything, meaning we're going to lower rates if we have to, which is a very dangerous. Now, this is not the Fed chair. There's a Boston Fed president that said it. So now they're not listening to Trump and the administration. They want the Fed. Guys, do you know what you're doing? Because they don't. Do you know? Do you know what you're doing? Let's see how this thing ends.